white people voted for this democracy.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't, Sissy. No, they didn't.
Yes.
A handful. Did you vote ANC in 1994?
I'm not talking about the ANC. Please listen. In 1992, white people had a referendum to decide whether they're going to allow the vote. And we gave the vote because we thought that what was happening was
It wasn't yours
wrong.
to give. Do you acknowledge that? It was not your country to take in the first place. But we acknowledge the fact that you are here. We acknowledge that you are here. I think it's about owning the truth of your own story with all of its complexity. So for me, as an educated middle-class woman, I know that when I walk into spaces, I carry a certain currency that is not carried by my brother who can't pee in a toilet that I peed in when I went to Wits.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But at the same time, I also acknowledge that when I do walk into spaces, for example, going into very poor, disenfranchised communities, I also have to acknowledge that the dysfunction that I see that exists in those communities is part of my historical baggage. I carry it within me. It's in my family, it's in my heart, it's in my choices. And what is worrisome is seeing people who own so much power in terms of land, in terms of resources, in terms of people you employ, in terms of the language that you've taken from these people and used to create a nation. You own so much power, but do you concede that? Do you acknowledge that? Do you own that? If you owned a little bit of that, it would be easy to come to the table with you. It would be easy to acknowledge death is death, pain is pain. I mean, there were 350 years of conscription in this country. It's only one generation of white men who didn't go into the military. How much pain exists in white families? I'd be willing to hear that more than I'm willing to hear that your pain is your pain only, because everybody in this room is carrying pain.
But I don't believe the debate from our side. 20 years into this democracy, the debate from our side has never been to negate your pain, nor has it ever been about saying that we want back to where we came from. Is it your country?
It's all of our countries, but acknowledge it's all of ours. It's all of ours. It's all of ours. It's my country. That's fine.
It's not yours. It's not yours.
This is not the place. This is not the place. Sir?
It's my country.
Yes, sir. This is not the place.
It's everyone's country.
People wearing this beret are saying we don't belong here.
Okay, no one can hear you at this point, so I'd like to actually have a conversation, and I'll ask for tolerance in this room, please. Tolerance. All right, Sinet?
What I'm saying is that I don't think the problem is with people on the ground, even the people sitting here. People who govern and politicians are determining the success of what is happening on the ground. We have rhetoric where people go on stages and say the colonists must go and we stole the land and we stole the mines. The Brits took the mines. Buddha never had mines. And we can't keep on having that rhetoric and move forward. Every time I switch on a television or I put on a radio and Julius Malema says that we don't belong here, and what is happening? It's a problem. You cannot preach reconciliation to one segment of the country and preach empowerment to the other segment.
All right. There's a vast difference between, and I agree with you, there's a vast difference between rhetoric that's used to manipulate the population and sway people and the truth. Ne? And I would be interested in hearing how white people process the emotional baggage of what their ancestors did. I would be interested in trying to understand what it did to white families. How much silence did white people have to cope with? How did white people build a shield around themselves to be able to deal with the system in which whiteness operated all these years? That's an emotional conversation. That's a delicate conversation. I'd be willing to do the work of trying to unravel that, because right now as a black person, I'm trying to do the work of unraveling my own baggage, my own historical baggage. I think when white people start to do that work, then we'll start to begin the project of trying to understand how all of us belong to this place. But you can't erase history. We can't pretend the violence didn't happen. We can't pretend colonialism didn't happen. We can't pretend people weren't slaves. We can't pretend our people are not poor. It happened. It happened. I'd be willing to hear white people say, you know what, it was Kak trying to pretend that this situation was normal. But I'm not hearing white people do that word.
All right.
What would that be?
All right. When you return, a poetic moment. Don't go away.
Africa is a fractured mirror, a paradox of schizophrenic selves who don't talk to one another, who coexist together but don't live with each other. And this is the time when you can become the greatest substance of your dreams unless you live in a shack and don't speak English and don't know what this poem means. Tell me how it's possible for people who walk on gold to not know how to read. South Africa is an old-fashioned mutt who knows how to sing and knows even better how to cuss, who knows how to pray when she's about to run out of luck, who knows how to laugh really hard when the tears have run her into a rut, who knows that race is a farce because when the lights are off, everybody's
There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of, I don't hear hope yet. I don't know about you, but I don't hear hope yet.
I hear it. I hear it. Just us being here, having this conversation together, getting to a space that we need to get to as a nation. It will take a very long time. It's not child's work. For me to sit and listen to Sunette, listen to Pierre, listen to Sisonke and to Lebu, and hear the various voices and digest the message that comes from them, I feel pained. I feel their pain. But at the same time, I feel there's hope because we're talking about it. We put a plaster on a gunshot wound in this country. That's what we did. And that needs to stop. We need to talk to each other and then come to a space of understanding.
Because you're with the EFF.
Yes, I am with the EFF.
Explain that to me.
Well, I explained in a simple fashion that in this country we've got more than 70% of the nation that's living in utter poverty. And if you go into the townships and especially in the squatter camps and you say how our children are living, we're talking about kids. We're not talking about black, white, color. We're talking about kids. So when I look at economic freedom fighters, we are looking at changes this country to bring it into a social system where there will be no class, where the state can take control and we can live in a society where everybody can be brought up to the same level. The thing of the Rainbow Nation that did not work, reconciliation can only work if we both reconcile. You cannot have Nelson Mandela giving forgiveness for a racist group of people that oppressed black people in the apartheid era and say, let us forgive them. They don't come forward and say, yes, we accept your forgiveness, let's reconcile with each other. They don't do that. We still have people in the audience here. We still have people in the audience here, like a gentleman there when she was talking about the black people being more educated and can actually contest for a position. I had a comment say, yeah, let's kill them. It's those comments that makes people to be killed on farms also. Because when you undermine a black person in this country longer, they are going to kill you.
I'm Myrtle Wetboy and I'm from the South African Domestic Workers Union. It's not about color. It's not about whether I'm a colored. It's whether I'm a human being. Yeah. And I think we need to do that. Do you know the pain of a domestic worker? Do you know what it is to be isolated in the backyard of employers? To sit there when the employer go out with their beautiful cars and I remain in the backyard. I was there in the apartheid years. But one man came out and he forgave. And that time, when I was in the struggle, I did not say I was a colored. I did not say Mandela is black. We were fighting for freedom. That is what we were doing. I did not classify myself as a colored. And when Comrade Mandela came out, he said there's black and there's white. And since that day I walked that path. I am black. And I am proud of it. If we want to free ourselves. We must free ourselves from this color thing. We're not going to become free because we are bitter.
We are oppressed even in our working place. Our employers don't recognize us. We raise the children. But you find that at the end, you dismiss, you are stealing, my pant is missing, my sugar is missing.
Welcome back. So in this video, we saw a panel discussion that was held in South Africa to address issues among whites and black. Now, South Africa is a very diverse country in the sense that it has a lot of people from different race and also ethnicities. Now, South Africa is one of the few countries that gained independence at a very later date as compared to other countries in Africa. Now, when South Africa, there was independence from colonial masters in South Africa, it was decided that the whites who have come to inhabit the land of South Africa will be allowed to stay. Unlike most African countries where the colonial masters or whites who have come to live in the African land were made to leave the land, South Africa embraced white people to stay in the country and also help build the country as well. Now, whites in South Africa own lots of property in South Africa, most especially land. They own a lot of land. Now, there has been some form of segregation between whites and black. There are some towns or cities in South Africa that are white dominated and black people are not even allowed to stay in such areas. So living with both white and black people living together in this country, there is some form of racism and racial discrimination. So this panel sat down in order to address this elephant in the room, speak among themselves as both white and black people, and get to terms and stay with each other in harmony. So in this process, this panel discussion erupted into a lot of heated debate and heated argument where both factions had to stay with their point and defend their point of view. Now, during those past, that is the apartheid regime and all that, Nelson Mandela was one great leader who was able to stand for the black people of South Africa. And he was able to help South Africa liberate itself from oppression and also free its people. Now, he was even imprisoned for him standing up against things that were not helping people in South Africa. He was imprisoned by these racists. Now, in the end, when he came out of prison, he forgave the people who even imprisoned him. But up until now, no one has even accepted his forgiveness speech or something like that. They have not acknowledged his forgiveness speech. In the country of South Africa is also a man known as Julius Malema, who also stand against racism in South Africa, because sometimes it is very appalling in some situations where racism is being heightened to the extent that people who are black are made to feel inferior. So Julius Malema, who is the founder and leader of EFF, that is Economic Freedom Fighters, has also been championing the agenda against racism. But all in all, I think that this panel discussion was a fruitful one, even though there were heated arguments here and there. But for people from both sides to sit down in order to address the elephant in the room, I believe is a step in the right direction. It was said, and one thing that I picked from this panel discussion was that we need to embrace humanity and not race. So humanity should be embraced over race. Let me know what you think about this video in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching this video. Also, don't forget to share with your friends and family on other social media platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, and other social media platforms. Also, subscribe to the channel. Just click the subscribe button down here. Click on the subscribe button. Click as well on the notification bell. And I'd like to see you again in my next video.